Good evening, everybody. I'm calling to order our regular public scheduled meeting for November 20th. This evening, we've got a robust agenda, so let's get started with roll call. Yep, let's start with roll call.
Councilmember Chmielewski.
Present.
Councilmember Cerna.
Here.
Councilmember Barton.
Here.
Councilmember Elam.
Here.
Councilmember Fry.
Here.
Vice President Kingsley. Here. President Sokolowski.
Here.
Mayor Aronson.
Here.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Next, let's do the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, I have several announcements before we get started here. So the first announcement is the Borough Council held an executive session prior to this regularly scheduled voting meeting. The items that were discussed in the executive session were personnel, legal, and property matters. I do want to just point out we've got a few holiday event reminders as we kick off this holiday season. Starting with Thanksgiving next week. So number one is we have registration for the Holiday House Decorating Contest. It opened on Monday, November 18th. The registration is open until Monday, December 2nd. Judging will take place on Thursday, December 5th through Thursday, December 12th. So we're asking everyone who registers to have your homes decorated and lights turned on in the evening between December 5th and December 12th, so your council member judges and mayor can go around and judge your homes. Next item is the annual Ambos Christmas tree lighting event. That is Friday, November 29th at 6 p.m. at the Marywood Park House. That is the Friday after Thanksgiving. We then have the Christmas drive-in movie on Saturday, December 7th, and this year the movie is Home Alone, and that is on the A field, the B field. Okay. Next item is our senior holiday luncheon at the community center, and that is Wednesday, December 11th at 12 p.m. So we look forward to seeing everyone at that event. Another event is the annual Winter Wonderland event at the community center, and that is Saturday, December 14th at 12 p.m. And then finally, we have the menorah lighting that is Thursday, December 26th at 5:30 p.m. At the Marywood Park House. So lots of activity set up for this holiday season, and we look forward to seeing everyone attend those events. Before we actually get into the agenda, I would be looking for any public comment related to any of the agenda items this evening. And please come up to the...
I'm really not sure what the agenda item is. Is it to do with parking, one way on 2nd Avenue?
That is an agenda item this evening.
All right, I don't know. I'm sure you're all aware of
Can you just state your
driving
name?
issues that are
Can you state
already...
your name and your address for the record?
We need your name
Oh, Joe
and address.
Malavita, 2nd and Wood.
Is there a microphone up on that, or is it only that one?
Is there what?
It's on.
For public comment, utilize the microphone. That's set up for public comment.
You stand over there?
We're trying something new. Trying something new.
It's mostly for the recording, so
Oh, okay.
individuals who are watching it, yes.
When I read about trying to make 2nd Avenue one way. Now, driving through the borough, driving is an issue. People don't follow the rules and regulations. They speed, they don't stop at stop signs. And now what it seems to me what you're going to do, you're going to have people making left-hand turns, cross traffic on Fayette Street. I assume that would be, in my viewpoint, a safety issue because then people are going to try to skirt the 2 blocks of traffic before they cross the bridge. So in the morning, when it's crowded as all get out, they'll be making the left to go up to Harry and making the right to go down and up First Avenue or Elm Street, whatever it is. And the reason I bring it up is because I've already contacted Alan about an issue about parking at stop signs. People are parking on stop signs, but not only at the stop sign, but in the crosswalks. You do this on Maple Avenue, where people don't always pay attention, and we have kids trying to cross the street where they can't be seen. The vehicles are blocking the walkway, so when they walk out, the drivers may or may not see the children. And when I approached Alan, I got a response, and the response was, they don't enforce that rule or law because they're more concerned about inconveniencing the car owner. And then you're going to come up with another 90-day temporary solution for Second Avenue. But every time there's a temporary solution, it becomes permanent. Sixth Avenue stop sign was temporary. I've been passed on Sixth Avenue. The Daniels was temporary, which became permanent. So when you're going to say temporary to Second Avenue, it doesn't seem fair if it's going to be events that become permanent. I mean, I don't know how much feedback you get about anything, because when you come to these meetings, there aren't a lot of people. There never are. And I don't know how anybody gets contacted. I don't know how your constituents get in touch with anybody. You know, I don't know if they take the time to talk to somebody or email somebody. But I just figured I would come and let you know how I feel. And if I am ever willing enough to come often enough, every time something minor bothers me, I'll let you know. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Anyone else have public comment for agenda items?
Same thing for Second Avenue. I'm Maurice Natali, owner of Tony and Joe's Pizzeria. Obviously, the concern for the loss of business or whatever they might cause closing the Second, but also over the few months that we've been taking, comments from our customers. I mean, they like the options of coming up the road, either turning right, or if it's congested, which could be congested. I know one of the concern is that it might be congested there, and it is sometimes Friday night, Saturday, just like any other little town, Manayunk, Phoenixville. It does get congested. But right now, my customers have the option of either turning right, if it is congested, to go up to First, come down Harry, and come down on Second Avenue and wait there rather than waiting on Fayette Street. Limiting that or forcing them to go around the block and back onto the main road it affects the customers. Also, customers that are coming from in town, these are customers coming from West Country that have that options. Customers that come from town, they usually automatically go right down Harry Street and make a right onto Second Avenue and come that way. So limiting the way they can get in or not is going to affect the business and also our customers. I mean, over the past 4 months, we've been taking comments from customers. Almost every single customer is against making it one way.
But people park on the other side of the street,
Yes.
and that's where the bar is.
I mean, us, Piermani, the pub, John Brothers, we've been in town for years, and this is our business, and that could affect it,
Thank you.
Just a quick question for you, because I talked to Dave for a while about this the other night, and I'm one of the people
Yes.
who actually come down Harry, and I make a right onto that area.
Yes, you live in town.
I
so
am,
most
yeah. I
of the
live
people
right
that-
up on. I live right up on
Yeah,
10.
so
So
most
I am
people
one
that
of
do
those
that,
people
yes,
that come
that's
down there
what
and
they
make that
do.
right.
People that are coming from West Country, they use the other option.
I get there's concern. Do you fundamentally believe you've been in business for how many?
34 years.
Yeah. My personal thing, and I said this to Dave, is I don't go to Permani or Tony and Joe's because of the convenience of making that right. I go there because you guys actually operate really good businesses. And I think most people actually feel that way in town as well. My question for you is, do you believe fundamentally that you'd have a significant drop-off in?
I don't know, I wouldn't say a significant drop off. I mean, of course, there'd be some sort of effect. Might be
believe so?
minor, I don't know.
Okay.
Might be, we don't know.
Okay. But the temporary ban, like the temporary right, one way, just to see what happened, would you be open to the dialogue of actually seeing how that turned out?
But, I mean, you know what happens with temporary, I mean,
No, I understand
Well,
that, yeah.
I think I would like to address the temporary. So I think the prior speaker talked about temporary for Daniels. That still is temporary.
Correct.
That has not turned into permanent. The 6th Avenue stop sign was temporary, was evaluated, and was found to have brought value to that community. So that is why it turned into permanent. So these things are evaluated. I guess maybe we haven't called that out at a council meeting on how we may have gone through the process to move it from temporary to permanent. So we could do a better job with that as we move forward. But, I mean, I think we have a good
Yeah, I just-
process. Do you
I
I
said-
understand what you're saying about
Yeah.
temporary. But what I'm saying is, we collected, what, 600 signatures? And there's not one customer that's in favor of making it one way. So who wants, who wants this? Like, who?
So when we look at these types of things and when they're presented from a public safety perspective that get evaluated from that perspective.
Sure, yeah.
So that's why we would be open to exploring this and why we would want to look at it, because public safety is our number one concern.
Sure, that's a concern. I mean, Second and Fayette is probably one of the safest one out of all the intersections. It would, stuff has occurred almost every intersection.
I can vouch for saying I've seen people sprint across trying to avoid traffic, and that traffic does not regularly stop there. So anything, like.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if making that one way will resolve the issue of the
Correct, but it's a.
I mean, if anything, I think
Yes.
that would be my argument in not doing it. You're forcing people to stay on Fayette Street or go around the block back onto Fayette. If they can't turn in on a Friday night when my trucks or my deliveries or the, beer distributor or the pub or whoever, and it gets congested, what they're gonna do is go around, go to Second, go to First, go down Harry and come back on Fayette Street, forcing them to go back to that Fayette Street.
So
Why?
these-
Why not?
I would
Why
say
not
these
allow
are-
them to use Harry Street, and when it is backed up, when there is traffic on a Friday night, why not cause the traffic on Second Avenue and not on Fayette Street where it is hectic?
I'll hold my discussion until we get to the actual topic.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for your feedback. Anyone else for public comment?
Hi, Mary Tiernan, 1016 Harry Street. I am opposed to this. I think, I agree with you, Tina, we're all concerned about safety. I don't think that this is going to achieve the safety goals. I thought it was interesting, the dialogue of would it be temporary or not temporary? And because we have seen other ones, including the going from trash from twice a week to once a week. That was temporary. I think most of us assumed it was going to happen, and it did. And, we know other towns do that as well. What measurements are you going to use to see if you're going to make this permanent? And how much business hit to the owners of Tony and Joe's, Piramani's, John Brothers? How much of a business hit do you expect them to take? And what safety measures are you going to look at? Because I saw Ray's presentation. He didn't, he showed pictures of, look, there's congestion. There's congestion at every intersection, every avenue. Didn't have any reports of any accidents. Not that we want to see any accidents, obviously. We've sadly seen accidents and fatalities on other avenues on Fayette Street. We didn't make those avenues one way. If it's a visibility issue, make it no left turn onto Fayette Street. I mean, I would never venture to turn left from 2nd Avenue. Make that a no left turn there. If it's because of the visibility, well, maybe have the pub move that one big, the outdoor seating bench thing to make visibility a little better. But if it's public safety, there's also discussion about having the pedestrian blinkers at 2nd Avenue. At the very least, you should wait on this vote until that is implemented. I think that's going to be in 2025 that's going to be constructed. See what measures that does for safety. But I keep coming back to, these are long-standing businesses. I think Piramani's over 75 years. Tony and Joe's, I know, at least 50. John Brothers, I think, at least 100. So how much business do you expect them to lose? What's it going to take if they come to you and say, well, it's been a couple thousand, 5,000, 10,000, 5%, 10%, 20%? What measurements are you going to put in now to see, are you going to change your mind and really make it temporary? And frankly, I think any of them taking, even $10, they shouldn't have to take that hit because there are other ways to preserve safety. If you look at, I agree with the gentleman that sadly we don't see people at the meetings, but they have lives, they have work schedules, kids. We understand that. We do know that they watch things on video. I hear from people if, my friends or I, if we said something, hey, thanks for saying that. Not saying that everybody agrees, but people are watching, And if you look at Facebook comments, I don't know how much you do on the various Conshohocken-related Facebook pages, you have not seen anyone, I would venture to say, asking to have 2nd Avenue a one-way. You probably have seen comments asking for better law enforcement for speeding. And if you haven't seen it, I would invite you to look at the pages because that seems to be one of the biggest concerns. What are we going to do about enforcing the laws that we have? Having speeding corrected, having people not blowing through stop signs, and also what are we going to do about development? In Ray's presentation, there was something about, steering things to First Avenue and also about the parking at the end of the block. I'm not sure with this regulation or proposed temporary regulation what you're doing or contemplating for the parking in front of these businesses, but if you expect customers to go down to the garages, it's wonderful that they are there. But that walk up those 2 blocks, those steep blocks, if somebody has mobility issues, that might as well be a mile. And even if they don't have a mobility issue, people will go for convenience. I agree with you, Ralph. They are wonderful businesses. We go to them because they have been part of the lifeblood of this town for decades. But people also do take convenience into account. And if you the more you make it inconvenience, the more you have a chance of hurting them without addressing the safety things with other measures. The last point at the presentation, Ray talked about other towns having ordinances directing when deliveries could be made. Why don't you see about that to deal with if it's a traffic issue? And that would be something that I would think wouldn't have the same impact on their business. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment related to the agenda items this evening? Okay, hearing no other public comment, we will move on to our next item on the agenda, which is our presentations, land use, public hearings. Are looking to consider adopting Ordinance 6-2024, amending the group home provisions of the zoning ordinance. Mr. Peters, would you mind opening and closing the hearing on our record?
Not at all. This is the scheduled date and time for a hearing on the following ordinance. An ordinance of the Borough of Conshohocken, Montgomery County, Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, amending the Code of Ordinances of the Borough, Chapter 27, Zoning, Part 8, General Regulations, by amending the provisions of Section 27-823, Group Homes, to be consistent with the zoning ordinance's other provisions regarding group homes, repealing prior inconsistent ordinances or parts of ordinances, providing a savings clause, and setting an effective date. You held the hearing on this matter at your last meeting on November 6th. At that time, you closed the hearing and the record in this matter. It is back before you this evening solely for a vote, and it is prepared for Borough Council's vote if you're so inclined.
Thank you, Mr. Peters.
You're welcome.
Any questions on anything that Mr. Peters presented this evening for us to make a motion? Okay. Hearing no questions or concerns, could I have a motion to adopt Ordinance 6-24, amending the group home provisions of the zoning ordinance?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries.
We thank our court reporter and let them go home. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right, next item on the agenda, we go into our consent agenda. At this time, what I would be looking for is approval and adoption of the October 2nd and the October 16th regular meeting minutes. Looking for a motion to approve and adopt the October 2nd and 16th regular meeting minutes.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Next item is to approve the October ending treasurer's report and accounts payable. So what I'm looking for is a motion to approve and adopt the October ending treasurer's report and accounts payable in the amount of $1,448,378.13.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. All right, next item on the agenda is under our unfinished business. Tonight, we're considering approving the fiscal year 2025 proposed budget and advertise same as duly required. Any questions, concern, feedback from residents via email or information to any of the council members that we need to discuss?
Okay.
Nothing?
No.
Just that they were happy we're not increasing millage and we're keeping taxes the same.
Excellent. All right. Hearing no further discussion, I'm looking for a motion to approve the fiscal year 2025 proposed budget and advertise the same as duly required.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Next item is to consider authorizing advertisement of an ordinance to levy real estate tax for 2025.
And I will just note for the record that the real estate millage will remain at 4.5 mils, and it will be split amongst operating funds that are general, streetlight, library, fire, debt service, and a road fund.
Thank you, Stephanie, for that clarification. Any other questions? Hearing no questions, then I am looking for a motion to authorize advertisement of the ordinance to levy the real estate tax for 2025.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is to consider approving Resolution 2024-30, establishing temporary traffic restrictions on East 2nd Avenue between Fayette and Harry Street. Any questions or discussion related to Resolution 2024-30?
Yes. As a representative of the Second Ward, I think it would be important for me to address what the community has brought in front of us today, and also explain any of my thoughts on this. Like Councilman Fry said, these businesses have been here for a very long time. They've shown the test of time. They're respected by the community, and I think the other side of that coin is that they're a part of the community, and that allowing us this time to test these 90 days is something where I know our professionals at the borough will be evaluating the data that we're getting with regard to anything related to emergencies, how it might be impacting traffic, those sorts of things. But I would also then encourage you, because everyone here has brought a very strong case for the negative aspects that this would bring to their business, check it. For 90 days, I'm willing to test this for the safety of the people who patronize your businesses every day. In that 90 days, evaluate how has it affected sales over year. Remember, if we're resilient enough, you were resilient enough to get through COVID, I believe that you could survive having a one-way street. But I also don't want you to lose business. I'm not willing to wait around for it to be hundreds or thousands of dollars or customers that you're losing. I want to know the actual impact. But I also want to see, because we've never tried this before, what the impact actually is. So I think it's only prudent for us to try it out. And I ask you, you don't have to do this, but at the same time, then evaluate more than signatures, like, is it impacting business? Do you have fewer clients? Do you have fewer customers? Are sales going down? And not just because it's a seasonal thing, but because this one-way street is the reason for it. Because the other side of that is pedestrians don't risk their safety dodging around trucks that are unloading while another car is trying to get around a truck that's unloading that doesn't see them. And we don't want to then go and necessarily impact other businesses by telling places like the pub, you have to remove all of your outdoor seating, so that now, that's been there also for years, so that people have a better way to view this, where we know we can try this out, and through our assessment, it will have a positive impact for pedestrian safety. And with your help, let us know how it impacts your business, because I am willing to try it for 90 days. But again, these are still, when they get passed, they get tried. In 90 days, I'd love to see people here again to let us know how it affected them or how it impacted them, because we would take another vote at that time. And we're here to listen to you and listen to what your feedback is. So I just wanted to say that about this, like the lens I've also considered what the business impact would be. My priority is also like the people who live here in the area, the visitors who are walking around, and trying to make that entire safe area. And I do think, because of funding, this is a type of action we can take now, whereas something like a mast arm is something that could take a year or more to proceed with, just based on the way that funding and installation and all those things work out. But we're trying to make it safer. And my final word is that, in my ultimate view, if we make it safer for pedestrians, they're going to frequent those businesses a lot more. Like, people walking by are going to see it. They also let their friends know. People who move in from the lower avenues, like, they learn these are the long established businesses, and these are the ones you go to. So I just wanted to say that about my thoughts on Second Avenue.
Thank you. Anyone else have any additional thoughts?
May I ask a question?
You may.
Chief Lennon, are there any concerns about that intersection from a public safety standpoint, that you have seen or have been reported to you, accidents, pedestrians, issues that you've encountered over the last 3, 6, 9, 12 months? I'm sorry to put you on the spot. So.
Historically, we have had accidents on Second Avenue in that block pertaining to vehicles that are double parked and vehicles that are coming and going, more so than a residential block.
Thank you.
Which way it's going.
Sure.
No, thought you would. So, right, this goes from one-way Harry out to Fayette, correct?
No, the other way.
Or the other way around?
Towards Harry.
Towards Harry. Okay. Just seems like it would be better the other way around. Come off of Harry onto Fayette.
Just to verify, this was looked at by a traffic engineer as part of the safety road program that we're looking at in total?
Yeah, safety and signage and that whole package, yes, it's included in that. And the traffic engineer is going to be the one that's doing an assessment along with the administration over the trial period. So yes, there'll be certain milestones that will be assessed. He has the stipulations that meet what he's looking for. And then we have just the general use of that area that will be combined with feedback from the businesses. So everyone was here for a meeting. My goodness, that might have been back in like January or February at this point. Our intent is to, ask for that feedback again prior to the conclusion of this trial period.
And the trial period starts on January 6th, correct?
Correct. That is the proposed date.
Right.
So is there a way then to package this where we can then bring it to the public meeting on what we looked at, milestones, metrics, all of that, to then answer some of the questions related to how we come up with the final determination of
Absolutely.
temporary to permanent?
Yes, just like we did with 6th Avenue, just like we do with anything that goes from temporary to permanent. There will be reasoning that is behind any decision, whether it is for or against, support or oppose, and that's the intent with anything we do in terms of temporary to permanent, which is why some things are still temporary because they're still in assessment mode, or we are working through stipulations of how to make them permanent. They might not be able to be permanent. So yes, there's multiple different factors that go into play, and the intent is that it would be studied, packaged, and presented, because it has to come back in front of you if anything's going to go from temporary to permanent.
Is there a way we could see the data points ahead of time before we actually start measuring them to at least inform folks on what it is we're looking for that would make
I think that
informed
if-
decisions?
I think if you're looking at a temporary trial period, it is 90 days is a condensed period of time when you're trying to compile data. So yes, depending on how long it takes to compile that data, we can get it out as quickly as possible to Borough Council, and then you can determine what you'd like to do with that information.
Any other questions from council related to this topic?
No, I mean, I think Adrian hit the nail on the head. I mean, when I talked to Dave about it, I said the same thing. Bring the information to us. If it is a significant hindrance on your business, I think you can see from everybody sitting up here, there's no locked-in position to temporary to permanent. This is a trial, and if there is feedback that we receive, I think you've heard from everybody up here, they are open to receiving that. It's not a closed door here. So definitely want to keep the lines of communication open for anyone involved, and I'm happy to speak with each
Our
of you.
businesses aren't going to be affected immediately. It's not like, oh, I can't go one, it's only one way, I'm not going to go there.
Yeah,
It's just over time, the inconvenience, like from my place, there's plenty of other places to go. It's not going to be one, I can't turn there, I'm not going to go. It's over time, it causes inconvenience, go someplace else,
Well, that's
again, yeah, go ahead, Stacey.
No, that's something, we are able to extend it temporarily. So if we don't see anything over 3 months, we can say, okay, let's take another 3-month snapshot of this. And now we're getting into the summer months a little bit. And that might give us a little bit more time. Like we can look at that however your data is coming in, and then we can kind of determine how long we keep that temporary in place. But we can always renew it temporarily. We don't have to make it permanent after the 90 days.
And none of us in business want to trade off the safety of pedestrians from business. I don't want to do business and risk, so that's never a trade-off.
Sure.
We just feel that there is no, safety issue.
I think the point, yeah, and I think the point is we just want to do something to try it in good faith, and as long as you guys are giving us the good faith back and working with us to see if it works, the doors are open, So.
I'd like to add, just piggyback on one comment you just made. There's a flip side to this too. If the data comes back and it's not making things safer, well, I think there's going to be a lot of no votes at that time too, right? So we are looking at it from, completely 360 degrees, from the safety side to the business side. So, and I'll always add thank you we need to hear your comments. Even sometimes if we agree or disagree, we need to hear your comments. So thank you for coming.
Can somebody tell me what the issue to put this on? I mean, when you say a safety issue, what causes safety issue? I mean, I keep hearing safety issue, but I don't know what the issue is.
So,
I mean.
So one of the issues that Ray brought up was the inability for cars coming out onto Fayette Street to see appropriately to make a right and left-hand turn. Whether that's impediments that are there from other businesses or not, the way those corners are constructed, you have to be pulling into the line of traffic in order to see down Fayette Street. And I'm down there enough. Making that right-hand turn is very difficult, and it is very unsafe at times, and it's a concern. And you have a lot of people crossing the street at the same time. That is just one thing that Ray brought up, is the way that corner is constructed, it is very difficult. And you still have the ability to make that left-hand turn at this point too, which is, like you said, incredibly dangerous. So that is just one small thing that Ray had brought up. Because of how that corner is, the lines of visibility, and it's you can't see. And that's just how the traffic is. And especially then if you have people double parked down below on Fayette Street, it makes it even more difficult. People are cutting around those cars. So I think that being somebody who's down there a lot, it makes that right-hand turn a lot. It is concerning for me to make that right-hand turn a lot, day or night. That's just one.
And I mean, you said what I was going to say, but better. But I'd invite you to go back to the presentation that Ray did. It's online, our work session, it's all recorded, so you can go back and look at and go through all the details that they went through and put together. So.
I mean, the fact of the matter is, we're addressing the safety concerns for pedestrians that we are seeing on social media and hearing from our constituents. You all may not know, but we get emails constantly that we're answering from constituents. They don't come here. And sometimes it matches what social media themes are, and sometimes it doesn't. So we have to be able to balance all of that and take in all this information. But we are in a situation where people want to be here. They want to be walking on our streets. This is only the first thing that's being presented. We keep talking about a road diet. That's coming. We are going to impact and inconvenience people from their perspective, but we're doing it in the vein of making this a safe, walkable community, which is what we've been asked and tasked to do from the residents of Conshohocken.
Which
Yeah.
and many of us believe it will help your businesses, right? And help, yeah, so
Yeah, I genuinely believe that more foot traffic would help. Like, not only, I know you get a lot of people walk up from like the lower avenues to the beer store, but also for Tony and Joe's, like to have more people feeling safe that they can cross and do all that. This is more than just a one-way street on 2nd Avenue. Like, if you put in the context of our bigger plans, we're going to be building that pocket park for the memorial Veterans Memorial across the street. We're trying to make it so that whole area is easy for pedestrians to get around. It's effectively like go grab a slice, sit down at the park, and that sort of thing. So like,
When you see a one-way street is going to help pedestrians crossing from east to west or west to east. I mean, you're still going to have the traffic. Traffic's still going to be coming both ways.
that's why we're saying it's part of this.
The only way to rectify it is probably a traffic light, which makes no sense to have a traffic light every block on Fayette Street.
Right now, that's why we're exploring the options. Like tonight, we've had a lot of great ideas also about other ways that it could be modified. This is our first test on how it could be modified. Later down the road, it may be we see that you leave it two-way and no longer allow them to make a certain turn. But we're trying something out right now, and after this trial period, we're obviously, if this isn't the solution, be looking into other solutions to help.
And I just want to reiterate, we're not trying this out without professional input. This isn't just us coming up with something that would be inconvenient for folks. We're looking at professional input from traffic engineers and the professionals in the field to try and help address the situations that we have in Conshohocken related to traffic safety, road safety. Dave has put in several different programs and projects from a monitoring and managing perspective. We are never going to manage every car that drives down Fayette Street at 40 miles an hour. And I would actually ask all of you to look at your speedometer when you're driving down Fayette Street at different times, because I look at mine and it's very easy to go over 25 miles an hour. So we're all guilty of it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just going to call it out. I think everyone's guilty because when the road's clear, it's a 4-lane highway. you're traveling how you travel on 4-lane highway. So we are using data and professionals to help us try to solve for the problems that the residents and the business owners are bringing up to us. Mary, I think you had a question.
Well, one, when you said, you mentioned earlier about getting emails from constituents, and, and I have to say, you've always been very prompt in responding to my emails, I appreciate that. How do you track of whether people are in favor of something or not? Do you keep track of that? And has anybody emailed all of you about this idea of making Second Avenue a one-way? What are the percentages? How many people are in favor of doing that? Has anybody been in favor? Because you're right, social media, you get some people that will do that and won't take other steps. But I'm just curious on that. If you
Sure.
can involve in that.
So if you listen to how I've been running meetings over the last year, I will always ask council what feedback they've received on things based on what emails they receive. So council will share that information for us then to take into consideration. We also forward all of our emails to the Office of the Borough Manager to be able to compile that and send that to us prior to a voting meeting so that we can take that into consideration with our personal votes. How many emails have I got? I got 5 emails related to this. One of the emails was negative, the other 4 were in favor
Thank you.
of the trial. I want to be clear, they were in favor of the trial.
And the other point that I'd like to make, just adding on this, it seems that the road diet is a done deal, that you've all decided, and I hope that I'm wrong on that, and I see you shaking your head no. But from some of the comments, it seems that that's going to happen, assuming that you get the grants. Is that accurate? I mean, you're talking about that. And yes, you can have engineers, but sometimes even
Perhaps we should hold that to the end,
Yeah.
because that's not on the.
Yeah.
It's not on the agenda, but I have to say, just from a few of the comments, and perhaps I didn't hear it correctly.
If you'd like to save that to the comment
I will
at the
save
end.
that. I
we
will
can discuss
gladly
it
save
then.
that for the next one, or when that is on the agenda. Thank you, Adrian.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
Anyone else from council have any questions, comments, or concerns? Do we feel ready to make a motion to approve Resolution 2024-30, establishing a temporary traffic restriction on East 2nd Avenue between Fayette and Harry Street?
Yes, I'll make that motion.
Okay.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries for the temporary trial. Excuse me one second. Okay. Next item on the agenda, under new business, is to conduct interviews for boards and commission reappointments. This evening, we have 3 interviews. Dominic Rocco was scheduled for another time, and he couldn't make it, so we're going to add Dominic Rocco too. Okay? So the first interview is Justin Claffey. Would you mind coming up for the EAC reappointment?
Should I get there, here? Doesn't matter. Microphone.
Here on the recording, just some of the feedback we've received, we're trying this out too to see if it's easier to hear on the, yeah.
And if we really like you,
So if you're lucky, we'll get you to sing karaoke.
You don't want that at all.
All right, Justin, tell us why you would like to continue on the EAC and what are some of the highlights of your experience?
Yeah, so first 3 years with the EAC, it's been just really fun to be doing something for my community, honestly, and something I'm passionate about as a sustainable engineer by trade. The things I've done in the 3 years, a couple main ones that I kind of championed, which was composting. I had a presentation regarding that impact, and that had to do with a lot of not only people in the community interested in composting, but also the one-day trash situation and all the fun that riled up. So composting was an option for that. I still use that to this day. So that was a fun one, but the big one was the LCAP, which is the Local Climate Action Plan that we did with Penn State. So that was myself and Tim working with a student from Penn State to kind of baseline the greenhouse gas emissions of the borough. That was completed in the spring of this year. That individual then was worked with us over the summer to do a little more stuff, which I still have to present on. So maybe that's another reason I want to re-up so I can do that presentation. But those are the big things, and I look forward to doing a lot more.
Thank you. Council?
What's one of the things that you've enjoyed most about being part of the EAC?
Probably after COVID, it was kind of like refinding itself and being a part of, pushing it in the direction that it is right now, with Greenfest being a successful thing, and I think Shauna will attest to the meetings being a little more efficient now that we have our pathway. But yeah, I think seeing kind of a new group come together and us kind of figure out these agendas and how to get them done and present them in front of you guys has been very rewarding.
If reappointed, do you have a next idea that you're thinking about?
One I'm going to not talk about because it was already mentioned here. I don't know how much influence we have over that anyway. Adrian knows what I'm talking about. Again, sustainability is like really, I'm very passionate about it. So there's not much that I wouldn't want to do in the future. Things in particular, composting is getting really popular. I mean, I'm in construction, so I really just like sustainability in buildings in particular. So maybe educating the community a little deeper into electrification, decarbonization, things like that would definitely be something I'd be interested in.
Okay.
I just wanted to mention, I know it was mentioned the previous time that Justin presented the LCAP findings. It also required a substantial amount of extra time out of his own schedule to do that, and for it to come to fruition in an entire report, something that, one, we would have paid, I think the assessment fee would have been like $50,000. We instead got it for free. I mean, his time, him and Tim's time, and our work with Pennsylvania State University. I really appreciate that. So to see him willing to come back and spend potentially a lot of extra time is something that I appreciate.
Thank you very much.
Anyone else have any questions for Justin? All right, Justin, thank you for coming in to interview again, and thank you for your service up to date. You've brought great and valuable expertise to the team.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
I think keeping with the EAC theme, I would like to invite Dominic up to the microphone. So Dominic, I'll ask you the same question. What makes you want to continue on the EAC? You've been on it for quite some time, and what are you passionate about that you've accomplished for the community?
Okay, I'll answer that question. First of all, good evening, everybody. Good to see you all. So to be honest with you, when I first got the email asking whether I wanted the reappointment, I was considering turning it down. I had a lot of other stressors in my life and other demands on my time. But then I went to Plymouth White Marsh High School. I met with some students over there, and they really reminded me why I'm doing this. I really want to help educate the younger people, to help them be the next generation that's carrying these things forward. So that's why I'm doing it. And what was the second question?
Just what passions have you brought, and what have you learned from the community?
So my passions were really, what's really driving me is to try to educate as much as possible. That's why we put Greenfest together. I think we're just looking to see how that grows. I mean, you know, one of the things that's out of our control is the weather, right? So having Greenfest outside is one of those things, like, it can be a hit or miss depending on the weather. So we are hoping for good weather again this time so we can continue to improve Greenfest. I'm going to take a pause for... But really, the whole reason why we did Greenfest was for public education. And I have to give Ray the credit because it was Ray's idea. We were doing separate little workshops, and we were getting a couple people show up, and we're putting a lot of time and effort into it. And doing Greenfest, we think, is just a much better way of reaching the community here. So we want to continue to do that. We want to continue to show up to the different events that the borough has, have our mascot out there, help, publicize the environment and do the right thing, help them become environmental stewards. So that's it. That's my
Thank you.
elevator speech.
Any council member have any questions or?
Yeah, regarding the weather and the way it has been and the drought that we're in now, would you consider pushing more of the rain barrels to help conserve the water that's needed for the plants in the gardens?
That's been one of our struggles, is trying to educate people to even take a rain barrel or to connect them or to keep them. I don't think we're there yet as far as the borough as a whole, because it's not just about putting a rain barrel in. You have to have a use for the water. Otherwise, you're just having a rain barrel that just collects water, and it's really just a waste, unless you like the way it looks in front of the house. So that's why we're trying to educate people for stormwater management, not just that, other things that people can be doing on their properties.
I love my rain barrel.
Dominic, you've been on EAC for a while now. What's something you're most proud of?
Most proud of? Jeez. I'm most proud of, I have to say one thing, is our recovery after COVID. After COVID, it was really bleak, and it was difficult. We lost all of our volunteers. We're still struggling to get volunteers out because we're in a different world now, the way we reach volunteers. So if I had to pick one thing, it would be that.
Is that a plug that if anybody would like to join the EAC,
Absolutely.
please see us?
Yeah.
Next meeting is this Thursday?
Next meeting's tomorrow night.
Yeah, or just tomorrow. I just want to add one comment. I have gone from someone new to the borough who saw this interesting trash cleanup that was happening around where I lived, and I thought, hey, I haven't volunteered ever here, so let me go try and pick up some trash. That was one of the EAC's cleanups, and that was, I think, in maybe 2017, 2018. Since then, I am now become the council liaison to the EAC, and one thing that I have noticed over time is Dom's unwavering ability to establish good quality relationships with people, and I think is really why the EAC even still exists today, is that somebody has been there, Dom specifically, who to continue spreading this excitement about what it means to educate the community on about the environment. And so I just wanted to add that I've really appreciated all of Dom's contributions, but especially I think his ability to bring people together for that cause. So.
Are you one of the founding members?
No. No, I'm not sure what year the EAC was formed. It's probably around 2007 or something like that.
Any other questions? All right, thanks, Dom.
Thank you.
Thank you for your service.
For your
And
hard
thank you
work.
for changing your mind.
Okay.
All right, next up is Daniel Swartley McArdle, please come to the microphone. Daniel is reapplying for the Planning Commission.
Yes, ma'am.
So Daniel, tell us about why you would like to continue on the Planning Commission and what are some of the highlights of that journey for you?
So it's been the last couple of years. I've enjoyed kind of sitting on there. I came on as just a member, and then I was asked to kind of sit in as vice chair last year. And I've enjoyed getting significantly more involved. It's been a different time to actually understand, because like I'm not a building planner by trade. I'm more of like project plans and understanding like how actually things kind of work in timelines and making sure everything goes from inception to completion. So actually this is very much more on like the front end of that application type process, where usually that stuff's already done by the time it lands on my desk. So actually being able to get like stuck in and actually learn a lot more about that has actually been a really interesting like professional viewpoint from my end for what I do for like my normal job. But I've actually been able to kind of understand a lot more on how things actually look. It just looks like from inception to actually comes through Planning Commission, gets done and approved, and now 3 to 4 years later, I'm now actually seeing what that project completion actually looks like and actually how it's actually affecting the organization and the rest of the borough. So that's kind of my pitch of like, I've enjoyed it so far. Why not keep going? And that's kind of why I'm here.
Can I ask an additional question?
Yeah.
When you look at the time to put into the Planning Commission, because we have several open seats.
We do indeed.
So if you were trying to recruit residents of the Borough of Conshohocken, what kind of time commitment is it for a resident to join the Planning Commission?
So funny you should mention that. I've done a little bit of work myself on this, actually trying to get out to kind of advertise this. I'm like, oh no, we've
And we didn't plan this, just so everybody knows.
we currently have 2 open seats. I'd love to, get them filled. But I would say that it varies up and down, right? So some projects are going to require significantly more review work than others. But on average, you're probably talking maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours a month. Like it's actually a pretty low lift personally for it. And then that's the initial to like read the review letters, actually formulate some questions, actually get the understanding of where it is. And then from there you can fall down the rabbit hole of Google to figure out, well, okay, that's interesting. I'd like to learn more about this and keep going. And that's definitely what I have done. So that's why I'm like, it starts at 2 hours and then it'll end up being 45 at the end, because you're like, oh, cool, I didn't even know this whole section of planning before. Of like traffic for me, we'll be honest, not something I had ever thought about before joining Planning Commission at all. It now consumes a lot of like what I'm thinking of, like, how is this project to implement traffic? Yeah, Mayor does a lot of work for this. It's like, oh, it's good times, yeah, it's great. So things you can continue to learn, and that's kind of where I'm going with it.
Great. Council, do you have any questions?
Yeah, sort of a follow-up to Tina's question about time. I mean, these are terribly important things that you do, but there's only a few meetings a year in the past couple of years because there aren't big projects out there.
That's true.
So do you really look forward to having something, to having a meeting that you actually have a plan in front of you?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd like to have an understanding of like not only like where we're going, but kind of like the why behind we're doing it. But yeah, I fully understand that things ebb and flow over time. Development really can only, Planning Commission only meets when there's business to do. Otherwise, we get the night off. It's great.
I've had that discussion lately with somebody who keeps making comments about why are they canceling meetings? They don't have anything.
They don't have anything to do.
So you could tell your friends that you're trying to recruit that it is a big, important job, but it's not every day.
That's true.
Good.
Very much so.
Thank you, Kathleen. So that's addressing, I think, some of the concerns we heard this evening about how we use social media comments to inform our decisions and how we interview for positions. So I'm just kind of tying all of this together for folks. All right?
Yeah.
Anyone else have any questions for Daniel? Okay. Well, thank you for the important work that you do. We do appreciate it, and we hope that the plugs this evening can generate some interest in Planning Commission. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, there is no vote this evening on these rolls, just interviews tonight. Next item on the agenda is discuss and consider authorizing advertisement of an RFP for the annual fireworks display. Any questions related to the annual fireworks display?
Is it supposed to be the same size as last year?
It will be slightly larger as approved in your budget that we discussed at the budget work session. So it'll be slightly larger. There's additional funds that are allocated for it. The RFP will go out and be advertised. We'll accept proposals by Thursday, December 12th at noon. We'll evaluate those proposals, and then a vendor will be considered for awarding at the end of December so that we can move in and start deposits and planning for July in January.
So I have a follow-up question to that. So we know that costs rise.
Yep.
Did we take that into consideration in the additional funds that we put in there to make sure that it actually does get bigger and doesn't just cost more for the same?
Yes, we have specified which types of shells, how many shells, durations of show. So we are setting the stipulations of the show itself, and then a vendor will have to present to us what their cost would be for a show of that type.
I'm actually just curious, how many vendors do you expect to get to bid something like this?
There are a few vendors that we have either spoken with or utilized in the past. So I don't know how many we'll actually get. We know that we have worked with a vendor in the past that we're hoping responds to the RFP, who understands the needs of the borough, and there could be other vendors that meet those same specifications, in which case then we'll evaluate it based off the RFP parameters and make a recommendation to Borough Council.
Okay.
Thank you. Any other questions related to?
And in that RFP, just to indicate, the safety parameters that we require from our emergency management team are built into that RFP, so it won't be just based off of price. It'll be based off of previous work done in a municipal setting, in a borough setting, recognition of borough code, and then also demonstrated ability to work in conjunction with emergency management personnel. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Hearing no other questions or discussion, do I have a motion to authorize advertisement of an RFP for the borough's annual fireworks display?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is to consider approving the final payment for the A Field roof project. What I'm looking for is a motion to approve the final payment for the A Field roof project in the amount of $24,863.43 or 47 cents.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is to consider approving zoning escrow release for 127 East Elm Street and 134 West First Avenue. So what I'll be looking for is a motion to approve the escrow releases for 127 East Elm Street in the amount of $804.24 plus interest, and 135 West First in the amount of $77.06 plus interest.
Sorry, is that 134 West First or 135 West First?
I think it should probably be 135.
I will ask the borough manager to clarify that.
It is 135 West First Avenue.
Thank you for that call out, Councilman Adrian.
Good man.
All right, so it's 135 West First Avenue in the amount of $77.06 plus interest.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is to consider approving Resolution 2024-31, ratifying Proclamation 2024-08, and extending a temporary burn ban within the borough. Any questions on extending the burn ban?
Didn't Montgomery County put one in for a whole month? I think the county did.
Yes, there is a countywide
Right, I
burn
thought so.
ban. We did ours in conjunction with that, but it was due to the drought conditions that developed over the region. And we are, because of the severe drought and the risk of fire, the burn ban was put in place for the welfare of the community. And it'll remain in place, or can remain in place, until December 18th. If it needs to be extended, it'll get reevaluated at that time. And the mayor and the emergency management coordinator also have the ability to dissolve the burn ban if conditions change. And the proclamation was put into place to satisfy the specifications of the county at the time, and that, therefore, that's why you're ratifying the proclamation. Wrong word.
So that process was the mayor.
Correct. In his power as the mayor per borough code, he has the authorization to do a proclamation if it's based off of an emergency situation, yes.
And I'll note, the mayor did issue his before the county actually finalized theirs. So that was part of the rationale for it as well, to make sure that it was in place, and now the county has done it as well.
Any other questions?
Can we get a as brief summary as possible about the burn ban? What is the burn ban?
No burning within the borough, no open fires outside within the borough until the burn ban is lifted. That does not include grills, propane grills, charcoal grills, nor does it include outside heaters. The ban is actually, at least from the borough standpoint, is combustible materials. So you couldn't burn newspaper outside, you couldn't burn leaves outside. But if you are burning something that uses LP or other gas, it's fine. So it's pretty common sense. Exactly what you think you shouldn't be burning right now, you can't burn right now.
Thank you, Mr. Peters. Any other questions about the burn ban? All right, hearing no other questions about the temporary burn ban, I'm looking for a motion to approve Resolution 2024-31, ratifying the Proclamation 2024-08 and extending a temporary burn ban within the borough until December 18th, 2024.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is to consider approving a tuition reimbursement for Detective Bond for the 2025 spring semester. Looking for the motion to approve his tuition reimbursement in the amount of $1,714 plus the cost of books, all subject to the collective bargaining agreement.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is to consider approving the change order number 3 for the Sutcliffe Park Trail reconstruction project. So we're looking for motion to approve the change order number 3 in the amount of $8,870.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. That concludes that section of our agenda. We are now at the public comment section of our agenda. So invite anyone to the microphone for public comment related to any of the stuff we talked about today or anything you'd like to bring up as concerns for the future.
Thank you. Again, I would like to bring up, I have concerns about the road diet. I don't want to belabor it. I know it'll be addressed later. One of my concerns, though, is not just for the impact on Fayette Street, but what it's going to do for the rest of us on surrounding streets. I think it's going to steer more traffic with more risk to Harry, Forest, the Avenue, Spring Mill, you name it. So that's going to be an ongoing concern, but we don't need to talk about that tonight. Hearing from these wonderful gentlemen about the EAC and Adrian's comments as well, I was wondering, is there any thought for recycling program or any opportunity for, in the future, recycling soft plastics? I don't know if there's a better label for it. When I visited my cousins in Ireland the last few years, they have a push for recycling soft plastics. So all the stuff that comes when it's plastic within plastic, now that gets recycled over there. I don't know if ours has the ability, if, you know, the expense or whatever with the contract, but they do it, it works. It might be something to explore. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary.
I just wanted to say thank you for that comment, and yes, we'll explore it.
Any other public comment for this evening? Okay, hearing no other public comment, I think it's our time for Mr. Mayor to give us some good stuff that he's been doing.
All right, thank you. So we had a new business opening last week. Adrian and I went to East Elm Street to welcome Posigen to our community. They have it's a solar panel company, and they have a very impressive facility. They gave us a tour. They talked about the process for having solar panels installed. They just received these new panels, and they were very excited about it, and they got us excited about it. And most importantly for us, they seem to have a very strong desire to be integrated in our community in a strong way. So I don't know if bombard is the right word, Adrian, but we made sure they knew of all the different green events we have going on and other initiatives like the Arts Festival and Fun Fest where they could set up and engage with the community. So we're very excited that they're here, and we'll make sure to make the appropriate contacts. We also had our CNC food drive hosted by Conchi Stuff and the Hussey team, mortgage advisors. This happens every year. It's sort of a low point for our food pantry, so it's just a great opportunity to get everyone together and to get some big donations so they can get through the holiday months. So thank you to everyone that supported it. As I was leaving, the Kiwanis Club came with just minivans full of items. It was really awesome. So thank you to the Hussey team and to the Conchi Stuff team. We also had our senior Thanksgiving lunch last week. It was a packed house, as you can see, wonderful food from all of our Conshohocken restaurants, and a great opportunity to engage with our seniors and get them into the community center. So thank you to our community center team for putting that on every year. And then finally, this kind of creeped up on me, but we have our Christmas tree lighting next Friday after Thanksgiving. So usually it is absolutely packed. So please come, and I know we look forward to seeing Santa. And Sarah and I will be reading the Night Before Christmas, and we'll have trivia and hot chocolate and all kinds of fun stuff. So please come on out. That's it for me.
I'm good.
Stace?
Nothing tonight, thank you.
Kathleen?
Yeah, the senior Christmas luncheon is December 11th, and be sure to sign up, because it's pretty full.
Thank you. Adrian?
Nothing tonight.
Alan?
Nothing for me.
I just want to thank the residents and the business owners that came in this evening to express your concerns. We take them very seriously. We have notes on them. They all will be taken into consideration by the council as we move through the process. We want to work with you. We don't want to work against you. We want to make sure that we're doing what's best for the community. So we do appreciate the feedback and the fact that you took tonight to come in and sit and have these conversations with us. So I do want to say thank you for that. And then I want to wish everyone a happy, safe, and full Thanksgiving. So with that, I will adjourn our meeting this evening. Thank you.